Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Hey there, once again, welcome to Industrial Talk, the #1 industrial-related podcast in the universe that celebrates industry professionals all around the world. You are bold, you are brave, you dare greatly, you innovate, you solve problems. That's why we celebrate you on Industrial Talk. We are broadcasting once again from PowerGen 24. That's what we're doing. And it is in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it has a collection of just problem solvers right here, right now, and doing great things. The innovation is everywhere. In the hot seat, we have a gentleman by the name of Justin Seamas. He is with Aero Engine. Let's get cracking. Hey, Justin.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, you having a good conference?
Very good conference.
Yeah? Why is it good?
So this is
I haven't been around.
third year in attendance.
Yeah, is it?
And so they've progressed, and everyone's been better than the last. So
Really?
we're excited.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have a booth here?
No, we do not have a booth here. We had a booth last year in Orlando,
Right.
and this year we decided that we're going to tour the show. We're going to visit with our OEMs, talk with people who we do business with, and then look at other suppliers. So we've been having a great time just walking the show, meeting with people we already know and deal with, and then talking to some new people as well.
Yeah, I've been in the salt mine here. I haven't been. I want to. I ran over to the propane folks, and that was the closest I've gone to seeing anything else.
Really?
In my neighborhood is here.
Yeah.
This is it. And it's sort of sad, but they're good neighbors.
That's the typical way of having a booth is you get glued to it and you don't get to see everything. So
That's true. That's true. Absolutely. All right, for the listeners out there, Justin, give us a little background on who you are.
Absolutely. So I am. It's a great place to start. I am an engineer at Aero Engine Company. Been with Aero for about 4.5 years now. Previously spent a lot of time in the industrial sector for fired equipment and gas plants, refineries, things of that nature.
Fire equipment?
Fired equipment. So like flares, process burners, incinerators, things like that in refineries.
Yeah.
So spent a lot of time around here in refineries. Kind of graduated over, and I say graduate because not in a refinery anymore. I get to spend a little bit more time going and seeing other stuff. But now doing just power generation specifically. We do a lot of other stuff in Aero, but mostly dealing with PowerGen now.
Yeah, tell us specifically, of course, we're at PowerGen, and everything's power generation, right, to a certain extent. What makes Aero so unique in that market space?
So I think the one thing that makes us stand out is how long we've been doing it and how long we've been doing it well. And when I start by saying PowerGen, not necessarily electrical power gen like a lot of the generator companies you're seeing here, but just power generation in general for rotating equipment, whether it be a pump jack, a compressor, anything like that. We've been doing it for a long time. The company was founded in 1955. Shortly thereafter, we've acquired our first natural gas engine and been going full steam ahead ever since.
Give me a distinction. If it's not power generation, but power gen, what do you mean by that?
So when we refer to power gen, there is the power generation market as far as generators.
Yeah,
then we
making kilowatts,
converting to electrical energy, and then we are also doing power generation as far as just rotating equipment, providing power for pump jacks, and a lot of that can be we're also doing generators tailed to pump jacks. So like we'll drive a generator off the front end of the engine, things like that.
Ah, I see. That's really niche-y.
Yeah, very, very, very not widely used, but we do it and we love it.
Yeah, see, that's a little. So, for clarification, for me, you are providing the generation capabilities for specific pieces of equipment to operate properly.
Correct.
There. Yeah.
We get down in the weeds a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's like, okay, why is this stuff important? I mean, Explain.
We want to provide solutions to our customers. You know, not everybody can provide super tailored customer support, and we want to be able to do that. You know, we're not the biggest. We've never been the biggest, but we can do really great detailed work. We can get down into exactly what every customer needs, exactly what they're looking for, and we can tailor a solution to that.
International?
Absolutely. All over the world. I can't tell you how many countries we're in, but a whole bunch.
You could have just spouted off any number and I would have rolled with it, you know?
Yeah.
There's no way I was going to validate that by any means. So where do you see it going? What's so unique? You have the natural gas component associated with what you do.
Yeah, so everything
Where are we going?
Everything we do is natural gas currently, or at least that's what our prime focus is. I think we're going to expand. I think the market's going to expand. At least we hope it expands, and we see it going that way. But we want to continue to grow in somewhat of an organic way, and we want to be able to provide solutions in the same manner. We don't want to lose what our core competencies are, and we don't want to, throw that by the wayside.
If you're providing the generation capabilities for these pieces of equipment, that doesn't lend itself well to a certain extent. I guess you could put a propane tank out there and use propane if you want to.
Yeah.
Right. You can do certain, but really, it's. Are some of these pieces of equipment remote?
Very remote. Generally, a lot of our equipment goes to places that the grid is not expanded to yet.
There you go.
Or it's not going to expand to for X many years or X given amount of time. And so we're able to go put a piece of equipment out wherever it is, or our customers are, not Aero, but our customers can go put that equipment out wherever they want to put it. And it runs 365, 24/7.
How do you get the fuel out there? How do you get the?
It's coming out of the ground out of a well.
Of a well.
Or they will have propane, or they have compressed natural gas. So there's a couple different varieties we have there. But generally, for the longest time, you may be familiar if you see a old.
No, I doubt it.
Well, if you see a pump jack and you see a big old flywheeled engine driving a pump jack, exactly, that's probably an Aero engine. So we do the old one lung.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never thought about the fact that you can have these pump jacks out in the middle of nowhere, but there it is, it's working, and I never even questioned well, how are they getting the power out there?
Yeah,
no, never did. It's just working.
There's a lot of electric conversion to that stuff, and electric is efficient sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you have gas on the well, and if you have a plethora of gas, if you have excess gas, or the gas isn't worth harnessing to send down the pipeline to use for whatever other purposes, we put it right through the engine. And most of, I think all but one engine that we have on that size or that spectrum is all EPA certified. And so you can run that thing 365, making power for that pump jack, and it's pumping oil, and it's using the byproduct of the well.
See, that's just amazing. I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. You've taught me something, Justin.
I'm glad to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, with that said, that seems like a very mature industry to a certain extent.
Very, very.
Do you see anything that is coming down the turnpike that's sort of unique?
To that industry, or to
just to that industry? It's like you've been in it. I see the pump jack. Yeah, it's a pump jack.
Yeah. I think I don't know if you could call this, a change. I think it's going to maybe become more prevalent in the future. There's some speculation out there of what wells are going to be producing in X many years.
Yeah.
And if that's going to deplete, when that's going to go down, and then what the most efficient way of getting that stuff out of the ground. The most efficient way could be put a pump jack back out there. Well, is the grid able to support all those pump jacks? Maybe, maybe not.
Do you go out and say that pump jack, that well, that that source is drying up, for lack of a better term? Does Aero go out and say, okay, let me grab that?
I wouldn't say Aero does. We have distributors that do. We have customers that do. So
I'll grab the motor or the engine, and I'll put it some other place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have probably, I can't remember the exact number, but we have in the hundreds of distributors and OEMs that we work with. And some of those go out there and do that. Some of them just have customers that go out and do that. And they're well-control companies, well-management companies, things like that. And they'll have their own fleet. And they manage those fleet of engines, and they move them around as see fit and as needed, and they rebuild them. I mean, we did a study probably 15 years ago, before my time at Aero, but they did a study to see when the oldest engine was. And I want to say it was from like the 20s or something like that. No way. It was still out and operating. Yeah. It had been rebuilt X many times, probably 20 times or something like that, and is still in operation. So if you call the old timer in the office, he'd be able to tell you all the specs on it.
That is so cool. So the market, again, into the pump jack analogy here, are there other things that you use it for? For your engine as opposed to just pump jacks?
Yeah, I mean, and the pump jack is a very, very small portion of the engines that we're trying to put out to the market and that we're actually seeing in the market. That's just kind of an old, constant, steady engine that we've been doing for forever, and it's kind of just off on its own little
because
deal.
I can imagine it's like, hey, all of a sudden there's a big old. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, we'd never. It's a C-Series engine. I'd never bring a C-Series engine here, but it exists. But as far as like our other engines, that's all our inline engines, and then we'll get into some bigger stuff later on. But most of that's going to be tailored to the power generation market. Some of it might go on a pump jack for the bigger stuff, but we're going to try and put that into the power generation market. And we see that just continuously growing year on year.
What's another use case in a sense? You got the power jack.
So we'll have hooked up to a generator. We can hook up to a pump. We can put it on.
We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
One of the biggest ones we're doing is like power takeoffs. So we'll put a PTO on the back, and it can drive any piece of equipment you would like. One of the big ones is like a hydraulic power unit. So pumping or using hydraulics for something somewhere else. Same as electricity, you're just using hydraulics. Another one is on rotating equipment, something like a workover rig for on old oil wells. Workover rigs use power units of the same sort. Most of those are older Fords, Detroits, things like that. We now have a new EPA certified solution. So that's what we're pushing for.
See, that's cool stuff, man. See, you taught me stuff. I'm a better person because of you, Justin. I didn't know all of that, but I took it for granted. There's so many things that I just take for granted and I didn't know. How does somebody get a hold of you?
On the web, aeroengine.com. Shoot me a
Are you out on LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah, see,
that's probably the easiest
way.
That's the
easiest, so somebody can say, look at his stat card. That's pretty cool. I like Justin. I'm going to reach out to him, and I'll do it via LinkedIn. And it's easy for me.
I have most of our information out on LinkedIn, revolving around any of our inline engines for power generation, whatever application it's
Love it. His name's Justin. Aero Engine is the company, and you are spectacular.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
it. All right. We're going to wrap it up on the other side. We're going to have all the contact information for Justin out on Industrial Talk. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Hearty thank you to Justin for sharing his insights and wisdom at PowerGen. Aero Engine is the organization, and yes, it's a must connect. It's so cool to see how power is driving all of the technology out there, but these niche-y sort of locations where they need power, but they need a solution like Aero. I think it's just really pretty cool. All right. I say it all the time. We're building a platform, Industrial Talk. You have a podcast. If you do, put it out on Industrial Talk. If you have technology or an innovative solution, talk about it on Industrial Talk. If you want to be on the podcast, you go out to Industrial Talk and say, hey, Scott, I have something to share that helps the industry. Go out in Industrial Talk. Here's the process flow. Go to Industrial Talk. Click on Connect, tell me what you want, then we're done. That's it. Simple. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly, hang out with Justin, change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.